Dave, how are you, brother?
Good to see you, bro.
Mean. Finally, we get the good yarn that we've been after.
Yep.
Straight into it. Where do we start? How did it feel to wake up this morning being less than 100 kgs than you were? Like today?
Yeah, well, it sort of feels normal now. It's just, but it always, I could never imagine picking up 100 kilos and walking around with it. Well, I couldn't. So.
How much have you lost now?
So I've lost 100 kilos, but keeping it off is the whole next thing. So I've lost it and I kept most of it off. It's all about a lifestyle. So look, I feel good. It's sometimes you feel life can get you down. You sort of have to remind yourself how far you've come. So you look back at I always often look back at old photos and just to understand how far I've come and be kinder to myself.
Yeah. So your journey, you're saying 3 years ago.
Five now. 5
years ago.
Yep. 2014 is when I sort of started this part of my journey. I was down and out. I was mentally, physically, financially. I was out without my children through my own fault, and I just wound up on my niece's bed at my sister's house on a bed I couldn't fit on. And just thinking, Jesus, I was really angry at myself. Just thinking.
Was it a moment? Was it a whole? It was a vibe of it a time, or was it was there a thing? I was like,
yeah, there was no magic moment, but it was definitely, in my mind, I just had enough.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can just continue to lay here feeling sorry for myself, or I can get up and do something about it. And I got up, and that's all it was. People are shocked when they ask me, what do I do? People that are in similar positions that I was in. How did you start your journey? I need some advice. And all I say is start walking and stop drinking fizzy drinks. That was the start to my journey of losing 100 kilos. Just those two basic things. I started moving, stopped drinking fizzy drinks, and I'd go to nice places. So I'd walk at night, One Tree Hill, anywhere with nice scenery. I was staying in Manarewa, so I'd go to One Tree Hill, the museum. If I had enough petrol money, I'd go to Devonport, Mount Eden. So
you did that to physically be somewhere?
Just somewhere nice, so that I could forget about how crap my life was. And
escapism.
Just escapism, yeah. And while I was exercising, I felt, like I said, forgot about how crap my life was, and I was just worrying about getting through the session. And while I was walking, I'd think about life, and I'd try and sort of visualize what I was doing and the goals I had.
So you're walking by yourself, you feel like shit, you're looking around. Did you choose to go there so you could visualize a better future?
Yeah, it was sort of, I used to play professional rugby league, and as I was training and as a youngster, going for jogs and sort of visualizing playing in the NRL or visualizing scoring tries, it was the same thing when I was down and out. I'd visualize having my kids back, visualize being happy, and visualize having things again. And that's what I do, and just visualize positive things.
So would you, because I do a similar thing, as I'll literally think about what it will feel like, look like, touch like, smell like, everything like, and I make it vivid. Would you do the similar thing where you have like a vivid thing of like hugging your kids at that moment,
Yeah.
and looking in the mirror and seeing a six-pack, or like, how real did you make it?
Well, I'm still waiting for the six-pack. So.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. I had a piece of my. I had some shorts of my son's, and they were just in my suitcase, and I'd often smell them, and just they still smelled like my kids. So I would, really vivid, but just mentally, just visualizing being happy and having them here, waking up to them, going to sleep with them in my arms, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed that I have all my sons back now. So
That's cool. That when you finally got them back, and then you hugged them for the first time again, you had that moment again. What was that moment? Like, was it like?
I was just extremely happy.
Yeah.
And
like
content.
Internal joy.
Yeah. Just really content, really happy, and just think I can't believe it's happened. That I've got them back, and it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. As you know, when you have kids, you get up. They drive you nuts too. But that first moment of having, and I could never imagine being without them.
Was that the coolest? What was cooler, that moment having your kids back, or losing the 100 kgs?
I'll definitely having my kids back. Yeah.
Which is actually quite a statement, because losing 100 kgs is a...
Yeah. Well, it was all part of it. Losing 100 kilos was all part of the journey to getting my kids back. It's just really getting myself back, getting my life back in order, so that I could have my kids.
How did you prioritize your energy of what was the most important thing to care about? So physical health, mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your financial health, your social health, like just the whole...
Yeah, I didn't really do any of that, and
you just started walking and stopped drinking.
Started walking, and when you look back at it now, there's all types of, you can say all types of stuff about it, but for me, definitely mental health. I was I hated my life, and literally driving back from One Tree Hill along the Māori motorway, I wanted to drive into poles every single day. It was really hard, and most nights I'd be crying. After my first boxing match, I was staying in a community home, and I was on the mattress on a floor and getting all types of hate online. So, I wasn't happy. I wasn't in a happy space. But I used my children as what we say, my why and my purpose.
Yep.
And that just kept me just driving me forward, through all the tough times.
Why were you giving shit on social?
If you're not familiar with my boxing persona, I was really like an arrogant asshole. The brown butterbean done what he wanted, said what he wanted to say.
The honey badger.
Yeah, just anything, and I couldn't really box, so I had to cause as much stir as I could. I was just as much controversy as I could.
But that was a strategy?
Well, it was what Duco wanted. That's
the game.
Yeah, it was just to be a circus act before Joseph come out. But to me, I understood I was joking, and some people did, but most people didn't. So when I first came out and I said I'm the toughest man in New Zealand, and I called out South Auckland, people couldn't handle it.
That?
Yeah. So
I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy.
Joseph Parker versus Brian Minto. I jumped on the scale, and it said error. It couldn't even weigh me. So everyone's laughing at me, and I was on the scale, and I just, everything you see on TV, like on these box. Yeah, I'm the man. I'm the toughest man in New Zealand. No one can beat me. And Joseph was fighting in South Auckland, so the whole premise around what I would do is what area he was fighting in, I'd call out that area. So the tough guys from that area would nominate themselves to fight me. And that's what happened, and people just went nuts. I was getting death threats every day. People were. The worst one I ever got was someone said they'll send me rope to hang my family with. And people would say you're a disgrace to all Pacific Islanders and Māoris. Why don't you just humble yourself? And so it caused a stir, and then so it sort of.
So it wasn't actually you.
No, it wasn't me. I mean, it was fun. It was to sell tickets. I had to do it to each fight. in order for me to keep being on the cards, I had to just keep doing more and more stupid stuff, and
But then it becomes almost like jackass mentality to pay the rent.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I mean. Literally, I was, fighting to eat and to send money back to my family. So, like we fought, and Joseph fought in Palmerston North. So I flew to Palmy.
So what year was this? 2012?
This would have been 2014. I fought in Palmy.
Okay.
And I flew there, and I put a bucket on my head, and I'm walking around Palmerston North, and I said, "Oh, you guys aren't tough enough for me, so I have to fight 2 of you." So I fought 2 people in one night, just crazy stuff like that, and that was hard, but all types. I'd be fighting at weigh-ins and trying to, and all the stuff I'd organised was to get on TV, and that was me because I knew that Joseph's the main act, so I knew my place.
You knew your role,
and if I don't do anything stupid, I'm not going to make the news. So right before we went, it was one we went with Finau Marker. I fought him, and right before we went to walk out, I said to him, "We're not going to make the news unless we do something. Do you want to make the news?" And he goes, "Yep." And so I said, "Okay, that's what we're going to do." So I just planned it. You push me, I come at you. You pick me up, tackle me.
What, you WWF?
Yeah, that's all
for
it
the
was.
press conference?
Yeah, for the press conference.
Dude,
and so,
I don't know. This is crazy.
Yeah, and he's tackled me, and no one knew because we did it just before we went out.
Yeah.
And I said, "You got to sell it. You've got to sell it." So he's on top of me, and I say, "Punch me, punch me, punch me." And we just missed the lights. And everyone's running in, breaking us, because I knew that they would. But they took a little bit longer to come break us up. That's why I was telling him to punch me. And we got back there, and
Do
everyone's.
people know this story?
Oh, only people close to the scene. But hey, it made the news. There's other times.
So you basically you were just crafting media so you could survive.
Yeah, well, I knew that I had to. There was no other way I'd make the news.
Yeah.
Before fights, it just wouldn't happen because I'm just an undercard fighter, and I'm a sideshow, not well liked. So I had to do that stuff. So then people started expecting it. The funniest one was Mike King gave me this idea.
Jeez.
He said to me, "You know what you need to say is go in with a SWAT team and say they're not here for my protection, they're here for all of your protection."
Yeah.
So I did. I got a SWAT team to one of my weigh-ins. We walked from Aqua Cafe in Newmarket to Danny Doolan's. The SWAT team were all stopping traffic. They're all ex-military guys, still had all the gear.
So it's legit.
Legit. They're all stopping traffic, they're in formation, I'm walking, and then we walk in there, and then the news, it was like as if, as if Joe had arrived, and but everyone just turned, the media just, and that's why I said, they're not here for my protection, they're here for all your protection, and it made the news, it was, so I had to do all of that type of stuff, so, but it was quite, because it's not naturally me to put myself out there like that, so it took, I had to work up to it,
Do you think it, in some ways, in the short term, you have to do it transactionally to pay the rent and to live if you're at the community house and the rest of it, but then simultaneously it kind of screws you because now all of a sudden you're tarnished with this image and perception of what people thought you were, which wasn't the true case? Yeah,
I mean, it's just like wrestling and a real life wrestling match. The bad guy becomes the good guy, which is what's happened. But I always was a good guy, but I just had to do what I had to do, and then eventually people found out all the work because I wasn't doing any of the community work at the start. It wasn't until I was losing weight on all of these boxing shows because I was on TV. They'd start asking. So amongst the hate, I was getting, "Man, how are you doing this? What's the secret?" Everyone thinks it's a secret. So I just say, "Well, stop drinking 50 Gs and go for a walk. If you want me to show you, turn up here." So I'd do stairs and things like that and just put it in. I started a group on Facebook, BBM, so I could send people. So it's called BBM Motivation. Started off as Butterbean Motivation. I just shortened it BBM Motivation. And it was a place where I could be myself. So just one person, it's private because I didn't want any haters going in there. Didn't want people trying to sell anything. So now it's still private. It's got almost 14,000 members from just me.
Shit.
And it's just
Facebook group.
Yeah, Facebook group, private. And it's just a constant space of positivity. For me, it started where I could just share my journey and share my tips, and I could be myself because every other platform, I was an asshole. And I lived the character. So, that come at a price because I literally 24/7, I became this character that Duco had created,
The sideshow.
And I lived it. So I'll talk about myself only in the third person. Even if I'm sitting here with you, that's how I talk. It was never slipped out of character. So it was just natural when I go on camera, I always just crazy. even when I met my wife, Karina, I would talk about myself in the third person. She goes, what's wrong with you? You know, when I first met her, you know. It's because I say, oh, Butterbean's hungry. You know, but Butterbean's got to eat. Yeah. Butterbean's got to train, you know. That's how I talk. If you go back far enough onto my social.
No,
you know, but
that is surreal.
Yeah. And then, you know, I'd get people, I couldn't really go out and in the end because people would want to fight me and I'd get drinks thrown at me. Just crazy. And
people with a few beers want to have a shot.
Yeah, people would want to fight me.
Genuine.
People would throw stuff at me. If I did go out, there'd only be a couple of places where the security knew me and they'd look after me, so I wouldn't get hassled. But yeah, it was crazy. But now...
All to sell tickets so you could pay rent to live.
Yeah, well, it was what Duco wanted me to do. I wasn't on the Duco shows to box.
No.
That was made very clear. Don't try and box. You know, as I went on, I had to sort of learn to box because you can't keep beating up people that are just off the street, you know. So,
but you didn't know how to box, but how did you first decide to box?
Well, we're over in, so Dave Higgins brought me back for the NRL 9s. He sort of heard the turmoil I was in. I grew up with him. He's
really?
Yeah, he's one of my best mates. He heard the turmoil I was in and he brought me back here to watch the NRL 9s. I said to him, I've got no passport, no money, and I can't fit in the economy. You know, so he thought I was lying, that I just wanted a business class because I knew he was cracking it.
Where was the 9s?
Just from Australia. The 9s were here in February in
but you were
Eden Park. I was in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Brought me back here, and he realised as soon as he saw me I wasn't lying. You know, he was worried he just bought an Audi, some nice Audi RS7. He was worried I was going to break the seats. So, and then I moved back here. And he took me to Germany. He said, do you want to come to Germany to watch Joe Parker fight? So I was a real good guy, always wanting to help me, and he knew I was just so depressed. So, yep, cool. So, well, you better train hard because I'm not paying for business class. You're going economy to Germany. So I started walking twice a day. So, and it was funny on that plane ride because you never want to, if you're not in business, and you haven't bought Works Deluxe and you haven't got that guaranteed empty seat next to you, you're hoping that it's not a big fat guy that's just next to you.
And how much did you weigh?
I didn't know at that point. I was still big. I still had to walk down the aisle this way. I couldn't fit down that way. And the guy there was one empty seat, was the Melbourne to Dubai leg, long leg. And so his eyes are...
11 hours?
Yeah, it was long. And there was not many seats left. There was one left. There was one guy right at the back. And as soon as he saw me, we locked eyes. And he was like, oh, shit. You know, so it was a long trip for him. Got there at Joe Parker's weigh-in, they wanted to see what I weighed because they'd never seen such a large tattooed islander with a shaved head before. They dragged me through there like a prize elephant by the trunk, threw me on the scale. And I didn't know what I weighed because every scale I went on always said error because most of them only go to 150. So I jumped on and I was 178 kilos.
Jeez.
And I was so happy because I was over 200. I was happy. So if there's a photo, I'll send you the photo. There's a photo of the moment I was on the scale and I was just low, and I was just and I was big smile and just went, I'm the man, yeah, you know, all the stuff you see on YouTube. And that's when Dave had the idea, that's what you're gonna do. Because everyone was laughing at me. So that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go back to New Zealand and you're gonna do this for Joe Parker. Yep, and it just started off with just the one fight. We just, you know.
And they just were you on a retainer to do all the fights? Or how
no, not a retainer, just on fights. And I wasn't on huge money. I think the first fight, I was getting maybe I think the first fight I got like 4 or 5 grand. So it's not much for a whole lot of work, but it was a lot for me.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the community, housing on the mattress.
Yeah, and so that's how the whole brown butterbean thing. Now the name came from because there's a famous white boxer called Butterbean, who's a fat white guy. I was a fat brown guy, so they called me the brown butterbean, and that's how. Can't change it now. It's got brand equity, as they say.
Mark that shit.
Yeah.
Lock it down.
Yeah. So that's how the whole boxing thing came.
Did you enjoy fighting?
Not really.
Did you fight when you were younger?
I'd had a lot of fights in terms of street fighting, and just fighting in bars, and where I come from, that fighting was normal. But never, it's totally different in the ring.
School scraps?
Not really school scraps. Look, I was good at school. I studied my ass off because my father was the president of the Mongol mob, the Auckland chapter. Yep, he was a bank robber. So was my uncle. My other uncle was a bank robber.
So was the fam.
Yeah, and drug growers, but I didn't want to go down that path. So I studied really hard. My parents done really well to shield me from that. I was never really exposed to it much as a youngster. My dad went away when I was 5 years old. He got sentenced to 10 years. I moved to Australia when my grandparents came back when he got out. My teenage years were very normal. I studied hard and I went to uni because I didn't want that path.
But coming back at 15 after your dad's come out, that's a prime age to potentially dabble in bad stuff, right?
Yeah, I was back, I think, around 12, 13, and I'd never used where I was from as an excuse, and that's why I talk to the youth. But I saw what I saw.
Totally, I get it.
So I went to uni, but it wasn't really until my dad, he got caught for cultivating marijuana at a massive, massive warehouse full of hydroponics. And at 21, I knew that was that first time. I said I've had two moments where I thought, man, is this it? That was the first one. I just went down a real bad path.
Do you dabble in that world a bit?
Yeah, I'm not going to say on camera.
Yeah.
Look, but when I was 21 and he went away, in that world, I quit uni, I quit my job. I was working at a video shop with Dave Higgins at this time, and at uni, and I quit everything, and I ended up living in a tiny house in Mangere with a few of my cousins and a few other guys. And we were literally selling tinnies to put the power on. I had prepaid power. And
there was a swipe card.
Yeah, it was a swipe
so we had
card.
the swipe card.
Yeah.
So I had the same thing.
Yeah. So, we're putting our power on $20 at a time,
It was some I remember. Damn, that's bringing back memories.
Yeah, it's bringing back memories. And it was a hole where we were living. And that was, I was getting up to mischief, fighting, drinking, doing drugs.
Same thing.
And in my mind, I was doing it because I wanted to prove and build a reputation on the street so no one would come and try and muck around with my mom or do anything. That was the way I was thinking. And then one night, it's funny because me, Dave Higgins, his brother, another Pākehā mate of ours, we're all still friends, all group, an Indian guy. We're all at a party near Mangere Town Centre. So if you can imagine Dave Higgins, me, an Indian, and two Irishmen and a Pākehā at this party. At a party in South Auckland, it's Mangere Town Centre. It was a Mongol mob party. And, we got in a fight there. Well, I did. And it was just the culmination of all types of bad stuff. And, I went home. Dave Higgins, everyone was there, and I pulled out a steak knife out of the drawer, and I put it through my chest,
Through your chest?
Through my chest, and just really, it was just lucky it was only a steak knife, but still was.
Or you were just off it?
I was really drunk, really angry, and just miserable, You do stupid stuff when you're drunk.
Yeah.
And then, on top of everything else that was going on in my life. And woke up in hospital, my mum's crying, and they bring my dad in with prison guards. Didn't want to really talk to him. I'd done psychology at uni, so I'm
How
really...
old were you?
I was 21.
21.
Done psychology at uni, so I could sort of talk my way out of... They send a shrink round to evaluate you.
Yeah.
Talk my way out of that, and I had that moment, that first moment ever, where I was sitting on the doorstep of this tinny house, and I just thought, man, surely I'm meant for more than this. But I always believe in God's plan, and I had to go through all these things. But the way I ended up getting up, and I'd done something about it, but I was very blessed with a good family. So I was lucky. My uncle Ula, who now works with us, he was the boss of restaurant brands up until last year.
So KFC, Pizza
KFC, all my enemies.
Yeah.
But he's now working for us. But he was a very successful businessman. He was living in Singapore. His son, I was not contactable, had no phone, nothing. His son came over, and my uncle called him while he was with me. I was in there rolling tinnies. And I can remember it was so funny because my cousin, his son came over, and I was like, man, smell this, good shit.
Yeah.
And he just puts me on the phone. He goes, my uncle said, pack your bags, you're going to Australia. And I said, I've got no passport, nothing. And he goes, no, I'll send Jude money to get your urgent passport. And from there, I moved to Australia and started getting my life back together. I'd blown up in weight that time too. But from that doorstep, I ended up playing rugby league in Australia, France,
Really? France?
Yeah, played in France at Carcassonne. Played semi-professional for North Sydney Bears, contracted with Manly, chased that dream for a long time.
Did you think that was it?
Did I think that was it?
You're like,
I really wanted it.
Yeah.
Because I'd made schoolboy Kiwis, that was, for a lot of, when you're from these poorer areas, sport is your way out, you know?
Yep.
You're just seeing it, and so that's what I chased, and I've done okay, you know? But, you know, I ended up owning businesses from that doorstep of that tinny house after trying to take myself out, you know, done really well, but then ended up losing everything, you know, again. Family, money shit, just went through some tough times.
You were doing well, what made you drop back down?
Just bad decisions. I mean, you know, sometimes in business, you're only a few bad decisions away from losing it all. And you know, my foundation wasn't strong. Yeah. I just went out and I went hard, and I come undone.
Too much arrogance or ego making the wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And
20, so there you're 20.
I was no, at that stage, because I played league for a while. I would have been in my 30s, early 30s, and just was doing really well. Made a lot of mistakes and lost everything, but the worst thing I lost was my family, and that's when I moved back here.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, went through a lot of shit.
When you're in that moment of the business thing with ego is such an interesting thing, right? Because sometimes if you drink your own Kool-Aid, you literally do the worst thing that is actually probably the most common sense thing in business, not realizing the consequence because you think you can't lose. Did you have that?
Well, my thing was, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, just go, I'll just be broke again. I've been there.
Been there.
Yeah,
but then it happened.
And then it happened. And it's, you know, when you come from nothing and then have a lot and then have nothing again, it's really humbling.
Yeah.
But again, I had to go through that. I think it was all God's plan. I'm not religious at all, but I believe in God. And I always think that I had to go through all of this rubbish and all of these hard times to
reset,
but give me the experience to help others. Everything I'm doing now.
But also as well, to that point, it's almost like you start off and you have this character which you have to use for the short term, which actually builds this brand, which causes a lot of pain. But then the true you comes back out the other side, and then because you've done these other things, it's weirdly gone from an asset to a liability, back to an asset, because now you've got legacy and credibility, which becomes more and more of an asset.
Well, if I didn't do all of that bad stuff, you know, not bad, stupid stuff, if I didn't do all of that with the whole Butterbean stuff, the whole act persona, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have a following to then help the masses I am now.
Yeah.
So I had to do that, you know, and if I didn't lose everything and move back here, there'd be no BBM that helps thousands of people a week, you know. If I didn't lose everything, come back here, start boxing, get some kind of a following, you know, I wouldn't have been able to help my sister get out of prison and die with her family, you know. She was in prison. My sister. And it was, you know, I don't really want to get into it, but it was for something that the system's so racist. Something that she done compared to someone who is a different color. They get home detention, and all she was doing was helping low-income families get into homes. Now, she done the wrong thing in terms of paperwork.
Got it.
So I never try to argue that she done the wrong thing, but when she ended up getting cancer, and no one knew it was cancer. They didn't take her to a doctor for 6 months.
While she was in prison.
While she's in prison,
and she
complaining.
Was
they told her she had to sleep upright. She was spewing. She was actually spewing like feces. She couldn't shit. So these feces was black vial was coming out of her mouth. They told her to sleep upright. I was so just messed up. And we're trying to go through, you know, I just get so worked up thinking about it. My family were trying to go through the proper channels, and they just kept denying her.
Do it the right way.
Yeah, and just kept denying her. Finally, after 6 months, they took her to hospital. Straight away, stomach out. Cancer, you've been given 6 months to live. What happens if they just caught her earlier? She had gone in when they, you know. So it was after they kept denying her, and they said to her that they can care for her adequately in prison, even though she's terminal. I said, nah, fuck this.
Yes,
I said, there's no more. I'm not waiting for my family wanted to do it. the proper channels.
Did the doctors say...
All the cancer specialists, they gave everything. They said you cannot, the prison staff are not adequately equipped to look after someone who's terminally ill.
But did they give you an indication that potentially this could have been caught earlier?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh shit,
yeah.
Okay, that makes it even...
And only just recently have the corrections apologised and said that, yes, but you know, if I hadn't lost everything, because then I said, I'm over this, and I used every bit of my connections, and it was like I was running for Prime Minister or something. It was like a massive, just a campaign, day in, day out. All I was worried about was, you know, every bit of information I get, I relay it to, and I was very lucky through boxing, I had media connections. So I just feed them stuff, you know, and that's how I met Duncan Garner.
Okay.
And he went right on the crusade with us, and within 2 weeks we got her out.
No, because of Duncan.
We changed because of Duncan, because of media, because of the pressure, public pressure. And that really showed the power of the people. If everyone bands together, it's still there. You can still put, like the government changed their mind. We changed the government's mind, you know.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
That wouldn't have happened because of you.
Yeah, that's what I was, you know, if I didn't go through all of this crap, come back, start boxing, get some kind of a following, and it wasn't, you know, a good following, but I had a following. Then I made connections with media, and I could use it to my advantage, you know. We had a big protest at the prison. Everyone told, my family didn't want to have it, and I said, no, I'm having it.
Yep, do you know?
Man. And it worked. After we did the protest, it was only a few days later she was out, you know, on home detention at home. At least she could die, you know, with her family. We were there for her last breath, you know. Yeah.
It's pretty stuffed up, man.
Yeah, it is stuffed up. The system's stuffed up. Yeah, so,
everyone says it. Everyone says it.
Yeah, so no, that's been a roller coaster, man.
How the fact that you got to even be able to pull that off, it's the moments you can't take back with the time, right? Like it's always...
Well, the thing for me is, I always think about, okay, what about the other people in there that don't have a brother with a following? And it was hard for me because I'm quite black and white on this. People would ask me, oh, you know, I said, look, if it's a child molester, stay in there.
Yeah.
You know, but there's, you know, it was my sister, didn't do anything, didn't harm anyone. You know, so it was really tough.
That's stuffed up, man. Yeah, I think it's an interesting point though, because if you didn't have that influence or that profile, that never would have happened.
Never. It just wouldn't have. And look, there's people dying all the time in there. If I didn't have the profile, it wouldn't have happened. But there's so many people that don't have anyone to call on.
And then what do you?
Yeah,
How do people fight for the voiceless, right?
Mm.
And especially when it's a system piece of it, that racism piece, it's still there.
Oh man, it's alive and well. It's alive and well. The problem is you've got you know, even say with health, we're in the health space. You know, I don't run a fitness group. You know, we're about health. The people on the front line of the nurses, the doctors, you know, maybe a couple of months ago, I got asked to come speak to all of the cardiovascular staff at Auckland Hospital. They get it. They said, we need you here. We need you to help our people. But it's the bureaucrats behind them that make the decisions and tick the boxes. They're the ones you got to convince, and they're so hard to convince.
Yeah.
And, you know, politicians, they might go in there with all the best intentions to serve their people, but once they get on good money, there's very few of them that will shake the tree, you know. I've been blessed to know John Tamahiri and Willie Jackson. They're two good people, you know, that helped us a lot, but there's not many others.
There's a very well-known politician who for years I was like, if I could ever get a chance to meet them, I would love the chance. I finally got a chance to meet this individual, and I was like, on some real shit, what percentage of politicians not only are talking the talk, but genuinely trying to do the best thing and shake the trade tree? And then the politician said, this is the hard truth. The money's so good.
Yeah.
they stop giving a shit.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's what it is.
are you flipping kidding me? Like the majority of them, and those that are mostly in it, don't actually have the power to influence anyway because they're not the leader of the party.
Yeah.
So the way it actually works is, and this individual told me how the game worked inside from there, and this is after decades in the game. And I kind of sat there and I was like, so should I be really disappointed in the nation that it feels hypocritical to be preaching all this stuff, or should I get like hyped that you actually have enough bravery to say it? I didn't know how I felt about it.
Yeah,
but
I forgot a first taste when I was doing that with my sister, because the minister, what's her name, that Judith Collins?
Yep.
They'd say she was a minister for corrections or justice or something. She said, it's not my power. I can't tell corrections what to do. I said, well, wait a minute, you're the bloody minister. Of course you can, So they always pass the buck, It's like we went last night I didn't, thank goodness, my uncle did, to pitch to the council, local council.
Okay, yep.
They give you 3 minutes and that's it,
It's like Shark Tank steroids.
And it's just, because they're all there, they're just professional meeting goers, as Rob would say. Professional meeting goers. That's all they do, Yeah. So it's just hard.
So if you've got the right intent, and you wrap that to about power, money, respect, it's like as soon as you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect. Money, power, respect, right? Do you think that is still real in New Zealand 2020? Do you think if you had money, then that gives you the power, then it gets you respect or the influence? How do you think it actually works?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, look, people say that money is the root of all evil, but I think that you can do so much good with it. So you need money to do good. We do everything we do for free, but we still have families to feed. We still need to grow. To grow, we need money. But as far as getting the power to have respect, I don't think so. You get respect. To me, you earn respect.
How do you have influence? Do you think it's possible to have influence without money in New Zealand?
Yep, because I have no money.
But for the politicians, I guess so. You're right.
You can have influence. It's within your community. Like I said, the power for people.
Yeah.
People have a lot of power. You just got to band together. We got a big group. The collective. We have a big group, and I recognise that with our numbers, we have power.
You could do a protest.
Yeah.
That's 20,000 done.
Yeah. So you can have influence without having the money.
And so if you were to try and influence policy in New Zealand or in politics space, how do you think you do it differently?
You need connections. You need to go to the people that make decisions.
Yeah.
You need to get past the front line and get to the people that make decisions. If you speak to them, and I'm sure they're all good people. You try and plead your case, show them the data, because they all love data.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
Spreadsheets and data.
It's just getting past the gatekeepers, and that takes connections. That's why, when I was a real blessing meeting Rob Campbell, because he has a lot of connections, and then it's just different people I've met on my journey.
Well, arguably, I think Rob probably would be one of the top 10 most connected humans in New Zealand.
Yeah, so that's really good.
I want to ask you about that same thing. So I'd heard a story from a mutual friend, that's how you'd met. He's at the event, you're like, stop drinking, put the wine down. So from your side, had you met him before?
No, I've never met him.
Did you know who he was?
I didn't know who he was.
So you don't know who Rob is, you're at the event.
He's talking to Kevin Mialamu, so I watched your podcast where you talked about.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually know who Rob was. I knew Kevin, so I wanted to get a photo with Kevin, and the rest of it, that's how it happened,
Actually, and then when did you, after you met him, and he worked out with you the next day, and you still didn't know who he was?
I knew, because I said to him, so we met, and he was really excited up to the start, but he was also drunk, so, and he ended up buying some artwork that, when you're drunk and you're bidding on stuff, at auction. We went to train early the next morning. I didn't think he'd turn up. I didn't, but he did. And I said to him, look, man, I'll just help you. Don't worry about paying. No, I just help people. It's all good. And then that's when he said, no, this is what I'm doing. I said, okay, well, this is what I normally would charge someone. And then we went from there, and we just built a really good friendship.
That you mess with them without actually knowing. Because most people of influence in New Zealand, people try to get to them for what they do, not who they are.
Yeah.
you genuinely connected, and he's smart enough to realise that you didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
right? But then he wanted to obviously have his own sort of journey. How's it? You know, you obviously like, you know, homies with Rob and shit now. That's cool. When he was saying, I think last month, you know, he went to a stag do with you, like you and the boys.
Yeah.
So like, but do they have that level of friendship when like he's rolling with the boys to a stag do?
Yeah. Look, he's become one of my closest friends and you know, a real trusted advisor. But over anything, he's my mate. You know, like we call it. You know, we're brothers. You know, and there's a group of us. There's me, Rob, Phil, and Luke. We sort of all started. We all started their journeys around about the same time. So you know, I was helping with Rob, and I said, Rob, why don't you come join what I'm doing with Luke and Phil? And then we just become a crew. And it was Luke's wedding, and yeah, we went to a stag do. And so me and Rob, and it's funny because we're in these what are those Zorbs? So there's Rob. I'll have to post the footage of it. There's Rob, me, we're in Zorbs playing soccer, and there's Rob trying to bang people over in the Zorb, you know.
Oh my gosh.
And his wife and his son were laughing and thinking he's nuts. And now we're training for a half marathon. So I've had 9 NEOPs, Rob's 69, and he's leading the way for this training. So it's a funny journey.
So your knees are stuffed. He's 69. You're like, stuff it. Let's do a half.
Yeah, let's do it. We needed something else though, like a goal.
Good on you.
And he's just he's just a cool dude.
So most people, when they try to get access of not influence, but those with brain power that are really smart, they don't usually get access. Say if you work in a big one, say a big telco, there's 1,000 employees, you never get to hang out with the CEO, right? And then you never usually see the board, and you usually never even, you've heard of maybe the chair of the board. What's it been like hanging out as humans with someone at that level of, I guess, business acumen or whatever, and the insights of someone that isn't from that world at all? Like, what have you noticed from being surrounded by, I guess, corporate elite, and what have you learned?
Oh, I've learned heaps from Rob. It's funny because Rob's quite a firecracker too, so like myself. So I also have to bounce ideas off my uncle to get that balance. Otherwise I could get in trouble, you know, with some of the stuff that me and Rob want to say. But it's just been a real blessing. Like, I've learned a lot in terms of just
like mindset approach.
Yeah, mindset approach, and just the way, you know, Rob approaches life. You know, he just keeps going, you know.
But headspace around, say, business, either strategy or approach and stuff, has there been anything that you were like, oh, I never thought of this is the way?
Look, I know my strong suit, and it's not trying to make, well, you know, it's hard, because I built this from nothing. It's taken me 6 years to build this movement. So now we've got to go from a movement into an organization with infrastructure. So when I'm going to these meetings in the past and I'm trying to ask for money to fund what we're doing, all they'll see is an islander training other overweight islanders in a field. You know, that's the way they'll see me. So they're never going to give big money to someone doing that.
It's charity shit.
Yeah. So now we're an organization. I've got Rob Campbell, I've got my uncle, and I've got
board?
Yeah, he's on the board, and I've got employees.
Yep.
You know, all of a sudden they see, geez, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
So I leave, like, in terms of making business decisions now, I leave my uncle to do that. He will always run it past me, and then I'll always ask Rob, so what do you think?
So you basically have learned, know your lane, get a trusted circle,
yeah, man,
and let everyone do their thing.
Everyone has their strengths. My strengths with the people, you know, and the passion, and just being out there. I'm not me in a meeting with surrounded by bureaucrats. No, it's not me. It's a waste of time, you know. So, and I'll just get us in trouble. You know, I've turned up to a DHB where you're tendering for a contract. I've never experienced anything like it. It's the first time I've ever been to one of these things.
So what is it?
So it's like a contract for health.
But
you know, for multi-PI, whatever the case may be. And you've got other suppliers there.
Like bidding?
Bidding.
Oh.
And
I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So neither do I. So I rock up and I'm in just dressed like this, straight from a boot camp. My uncle turns up in a suit, so we look semi-professional. But I'm in there and my uncle's writing notes, but it's to me. Just sit down, don't say anything, Don't get angry.
Smile.
And I'm just saying, nah. And I got up and I speak because I got up and I said, look, my name's Dave from BBM, and I'm on the front line of this fight that you all are supposed to care about, you know. And I just want to tell you some stories because all I'm hearing is data and money. Nothing at the people that we're supposed to be here to help and serve. So, I just talked, I said, there's a lady, she's severely obese, massively obese. Her daughter's in hospital in Starship with an incurable disease. She'll message you, she says she's got no money for food. What do? What would you do? None of them any idea. So that's what we're dealing with.
Jeez.
So that's why I don't go to those meetings.
And what happened at the end of
get the contract.
So I can imagine.
But it was a blessing in disguise because what we have ended up getting is a lot better, more an opportunity to actually revolutionise the system for us. We've teamed up with, we just got signed to Alliance Health Plus and also PHO, the chairman of
public health,
primary health organization.
sorry.
So we've got the chairman, Samuel guy, and the CEO.
They come to work out, they see it.
They've seen it and they think outside the box and they understand that, yeah, we don't fit the mold, but what we do works for the people that the system can't get. So we've teamed up with them now, so it's taking time, but we're going to be the backbone.
So today, 2020, group of 14,000, 100,000 people changing lives. Have you received any funding from Public at all?
No.
Zero, no nothing. No grants, no bullshit.
We only started getting grant funding last year, but that's from people like the Hugh Green Foundation, who are an amazing family. I got introduced to them, and they supported us for 3 years. But that's grant funding. We got nothing from the government. Nothing.
Do you think you should?
Well, I don't want to now.
You're like, stuff it, we do it ourselves.
I was talking to my king about it. He's another guy, a guy that I rely on. I talk to him about things. He knows exactly what I'm going through.
He's a good dude.
And he said, you should come out publicly and say, I will accept no government funding. I won't go that far, but any funding we do get, eventually, because it will happen, I'm not going to tick any boxes.
Yeah.
We're in the system to make a difference, not to tick boxes. And that's what it will.
So the challenge on that, I guess, would be then saying, well, if you want to scale the impact you have, you should want to partner and work with us, so you need to play ball.
Yeah.
How would you navigate?
The way I look at it is they can play ball with us.
Because you're with the people.
We're with the people. We're with people. So I understand that, we need with scale, we need more of me. So we started a course with QA approved to certify our trainings.
That's cool.
And then if people want to do the course, they can do it online. Then we can start spreading. But everyone's certified.
So how do you scale you?
Well, there's no scaling me, but trainers that do the course find it big exercise. It's not the exercise, it's not the culture that we provide, the mindset that we use, and the environment that we support.
Yeah. And when you go exactly to that point, they work out with you at 6 in the morning or Saturday or something. They go back to their house, they open their fridge. I'm sure it's not kale, greens, and flipping shit. So how do you infiltrate into the household, especially obviously body Pacific families, especially for the public?
Nutrition, the boot camps, the boot camp, but it's so much more. Yeah. So while they're there, once they come to free boot camp, people come. Why you got them there? And then start seeking. So when people come before the boot camp, then we do the boot camp. The whole time we're doing the boot camp, we're feeding messages. People don't even know we're doing it. It's all around mindset. We're talking about level first. Yes, just organically. Life is tough. This session's tough. If you get through the session, apply everything you've used mentally to get through the session. To then apply to life. At the end of the session, we talk about what we've just done, and then we could also talk about nutrition. We run 6-week programs where it's more concentrated, for the more people that are just starting, call it from the couch. Yeah. And we give them those things. We measure everything. So mental health, not just weight. And then we're working on meal plans, mindset, who you're hanging out with, and then exercise. So exercise is just our vehicle. so much more.
So that's the gateway.
It takes time. No one's perfect, but that's how we do it.
There's not, and visually as well, the 400,000, you've got people that are 150 kgs, full families, young, old. It's a whole dynamic.
Yeah, we're not really fit people that come. So people, it's funny because what we're saying, one of his mates was saying, this is only overweight islanders that are training there. But unfit people, it's just not the case. We have really fit people that train with us. But the way that we've designed it is that you can have someone really fit train with someone just starting, and no one's left out. The fit person gets the workout, and the person just starting gets the workout. So it's pretty cool the way we've designed it.
I don't think there's many fitness programs or things that kind of have the full range of families turning up, and then also age, also size, the whole thing, right?
Yeah, we've got all walks of life, all shapes, sizes, all ages,
and you've
families.
You've got a methodology around it, how you do it.
Yeah, that's what we teach our.
So what's the where to from here? How do you? So you've had a cycle moment to move on. So you had a moment with yourself. Now you've created a movement. You get 400,000. It's rolling up. You're obviously not really messing with any other public money right now. You're doing your thing. You've got a good board. How do you go from movement to organisation, scale, big, dent in the nation?
What's just putting the right people in place? I've got my uncle, who's pretty much the CEO of the business. Got Rob Campbell as our So we've got 2 full-time workers. We're putting on a third, 2 starts in March. And then we'll start building programs where we're going to be in schools. We just start our first in 2 schools this year. We've done our first one in a couple of weeks. We're in community programs. So it's just continuing to stand and grow. Getting more. So when the government do finally realise and they need our program, when they come to us and we get our chance, we're ready to go. So we've got all these certified trainers that will run stuff just like I do. My focus is on the other way we run our stuff is through my app. That's how we manage it. I'm a big family. That's my goal, is just growing that. So that's how we'll be, the way that we'll be self-sustained in 5 years, corporate health, wellness programs, and through my business. Corporate health is a big space. They all have budget because they have to tick a box, and we're the program. Especially
so eventually you'll plug back in when they suit your.
Yeah. So any of these organisations that have a large multi-PI workforce, and they have to do the wellness program.
And you will be offering that soon?
Yeah, we're already doing it. More heavily for work. Always, usually have a soon.
Yeah, cool. So the game started.
Yeah, so that's the other way that we can.
If you were to wave a magic wand over BBM, motivation, future awards, what does that look like?
BBM will be the least mills for everyday people. People that don't feel like they perhaps don't have the courage yet to live the future. They're down, they're kind of stuck in a rut, thinking it's impossible to get up and be anything in life. BBM will be the symbol of hope for all those people. And we set up just like Les Mills everywhere. And all of our programs, not just, so then we'll have all of our programs in different gyms. You never know, so maybe a program might be a Les Mills one. That's where it'll be.
I know the new CEO. Yeah, we'll go for a water.
100%.
Bro, what a flippin' yarn, man.
Thank you very much.
I always get so when I get to finally connect up and have a solid yarn, consistently doing good shit. It's not cool shit. It's good shit. That is cool. There's a difference. Ferraris are cool, but this you're creating depth and impact on things like those.
Yeah, pathways, man. I want to create pathways, not just for my children. Thank you very much.
Solid.